Hello and welcome to Business First here on Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. My name is Lynette Manzini. Today's edition is brought to you by Zimtrade. In our last edition, we spoke about the eagle's nest. They were introducing us to the eagle's nest, but today we want to look at why youth-owned businesses should target exports. I have three guests with me in the studio. I will begin by introducing Tatenda Machirori. She is a client manager with Zimtrade. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lynette. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. And then we have Leslie Marange. Leslie is a judge and he's a CEO. Leslie, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lynette.
Kindly tell us, I just know that you're a CEO. Kindly explain.
Oh, all right. I'm running a business called Glytime Foods. Glytime Foods is an agro-based business that I was established in 2018. We have been running both on the local scene and on the regional scene.
That's fine for now.
Okay.
Then we move on to Alex Mutandi. He is the Export Promotion Officer with Zimtrade. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I will begin with you, Tatenda. Help our listeners understand, our viewers understand what exports are. You know, we don't want to delve into this issue and assume that everybody understands what we're talking about. What are exports, and are there any different kind of exports?
Well, in essence, what exports are, it means to trade across the borders. What we do here in Harare or Zimbabwe is local trade. It's you having your business, your products, your services, you're trading with SPA or any other service companies that can make use of your products. But when we decide to go into exporting, I'm taking it to South Africa or to Botswana or Namibia, anywhere around the world. So it's just an issue of how I'm going to get my product out there, but it's all exporting at the end of the day.
Okay, if I can rope you in, Alex, you are into export promotion. Tell us how, focusing on the eagle's nest, what is your role there? How are you going to help these youths market their products?
Oh, thank you very much. When we are talking about export promotion, we are looking at national exports in the country across all sectors, be them products or be them services, and try to assist in looking for markets, assist in promoting or bringing visibility for them in the export arena, like what Tatinda said. We are not focusing for them here, but we are focusing for them outside so that they're able to generate forex current for themselves and also for the country. So what we then do is we also have various programs that we run. Some of them are Zimtrade initiated programs that we take some of these youth-owned businesses to go to them to various trade promotion organizations across the world. So you find some we initiate them, some are national promotions with regard to each and every country, but they also have their national calendars that we run with, we focus on. So what we normally do, once these youth are trained and are now export ready, we then assist them to look for markets outside by organizing various events, by linking them with potential buyers for their products. That in a nutshell, that's what we focus on.
If I can rope you in, Leslie, you are a youth yourself and you are into business. Do you think that youths are active enough when it comes to trade? Particularly focusing on Zimbabwe.
Well, I think there is a lot that is happening on the ground. I think what then needs to be done is then to redirect the energy of the youth in the right direction in terms of, what should they be involved in, based on market analysis, based on what the region requires, based on what the client requires. But to be fair enough, I think there is a lot of activity that is happening. It's just an issue of probably helping them in terms of finance, helping them in terms of capacity building, helping them in terms of market linkages, which these guys are doing, helping them in terms of legal competencies. So in a way, youth are involved in trade, but it might also be the problem that I've also observed is we also have a youth that is impatient. We also have a youth that are operating in an illegal way or probably in an unregistered way. So which then limits their chances of excelling in whatever endeavors that they are doing. So it's just an issue of probably identification and adding value to the structures that they already have.
Okay, Tatenda, Leslie brings in the informal sector. There are some youths that are operating outside the formal sector. How are you coming in as an organization to assist them? Because I mean, when I look at the Eagles Nest, I'm thinking this is a, you know, it's a good platform for them. But for one to get to a point where they can export, it means that they need to be a formally registered organization. How are you assisting these informal youths operating informally to formalize?
I think we already are fully aware that the current Zim economy is strongly founded on the informal sector. You find majority are micro, small and medium enterprises. And this is probably where most of the youth are at the moment. So what we're doing is Zimtrade. We do have capacity building programs, our trainings that we conduct. And we encourage that everyone who attends our trainings is a registered business. There is the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. You submit your paperwork there, you get your registrations. This allows you to trade above board. So we will help you through the process as well. We'll refer, we'll recommend, even in the training programs, we bring in partners that will be able to also inform and educate on the process so that it can also guide our young enterprises in the process. So I think we do a lot to help them become more registered and more legal.
So if there are any youths that are watching this program and are operating in the informal sector, Zimtrade is your go-to organization. They will help you formalize, and before you know it, you're already exporting your products across the borders. Alex, Leslie spoke about the issue of the market. And, you know, he was saying, yes, youths do operate, are involved in trade, are active. But, you know, the market needs differ. How are you assisting the youths in this regard? Because, you know, the way, last time in our other program, we were speaking to one of the export development managers, and he was saying that, you know, there are some, in some countries, they will ask you whether this product, you know, was produced in a country that, you know, believes in gender equality, whether they are also looking at issues to do with the environment, whether people are paid fairly a decent wage. How are you assisting the youths to try to match their product to what is required on the market?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the key issues that we need to understand is youth, they are in various businesses across the sectors. But what you then find in terms of the export requirements, they differ from sector to sector. So whoever then comes and approaches Zimtrade to have an understanding in terms of they want to export, what are the export requirements, these are sector specific. Some of them require export license from here, some of them require import license from there. So what we'll then do is, a youth or a business person comes to us and say, I'm into this business. I'm looking for an export market in the region or across. We then look at the country that these guys, they want to export to. We look at the requirements, whether be it packaging requirements, be it the phytosanitary requirements, and anything else depending on the sector or the product that you are in. We then relay and share with you those information so that you then work on the issues that are required before you export. Because you can't export a product without knowing the requirements or the regulation requirements of each and every country. So as Zimtrade, where we come in is whoever wants to export and is not privy to the information, the market that they want to export to, they can come to ask us as many questions as possible. We then log in the system and check the product that they want to export to a country A, and then give them feedback so that they prepare on that. But before you go into export business, for you to also benefit to that, you then also need to be registered for the trade agreements. These are the agreements that are country to country or country to country specific, so that they assist you to benefit from the duty-free and quota-free products. So you find in Zimbabwe we have got the bilateral trade agreements, and also we are part of the multilateral trade agreements. So your bilateral trade agreements, the example, for instance, we've got Zimbabwe, Malawi bilateral trade agreements. We have got Zimbabwe, Namibia, we've got Zimbabwe, Botswana, a trade agreement. So what happened in those trade agreements, there are specific products which the two countries have agreed on to say, as we want to do business with those products, certain products are duty-free, certain products are quota-free. Same as your multilateral trade agreements, which is your SADC, your COMESA, and right now we are talking about the African Colonial Free Trade Area. So when your business is now export ready from a developmental side of things, we then now assist you to register for those, so that as you want now to trade with the foreign companies, for foreign countries, you will now be able to benefit from the agreements. So you are competing, remember, not only from companies from your own companies from your own country, but from companies also from other countries who might have registered for this trade agreement. And if you are not, it then means your product will land in a foreign market at a higher price than from the competitors. So those are some of the things that we then share with these youth-owned business, so that they also take advantage of this opportunity that are there, and they are ready. They've got information for them to do business well.
Thank you very much for that. On that note, we'll take a short break. In case you're just joining us, you are tuned in to Business First here on Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. Today's edition is brought to you by Zimtrade, where we are continuing from our last program where we were talking about the eagle's nest. But in today's program, we're looking at why youth-owned businesses should target exports. I am in the studio with Tatenda Machirori. She is a client manager with Zimtrade. I am also joined by Alex Mutandi. He is an export promotion officer, and Leslie Marange. He's a youth business owner and a judge for the Eagle's Nest. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so let's jump right into it. I want to, youth unemployment is a huge issue in Zimbabwe, not just in Zimbabwe, but across the continent. To what extent, Tatenda, does this program empower the youths to deal with unemployment now and in the future?
Okay. There's some characteristics that are familiar or they resonate throughout our youth sector at the moment, such as they are tech savvy, they are innovative, risk takers. I mean, we've got nothing to lose at the moment. In terms of why they should engage into exports is because the opportunities are there, and the only way to address unemployment at the moment is if we create the jobs ourselves. So you find if you go on the internet, there's so many opportunities that are available out there, and they can probably make the most of these opportunities. They can trade online. They don't necessarily need to have a physical space to begin their businesses. But there's so many things that you find even from this program. We've had various individuals, these youth, they're coming up with the brightest of ideas. They're very innovative. Imagine managing your whole agricultural structure from your phone. So these are some of the things that are being done probably in the first world, but then they improve the process as they go along so that it suits whatever problems they are facing here. So they have solutions that can be ready-made for the problems that they're facing here.
Okay. Leslie, Tatenda talks about the youths, jumping in there and creating employment, through the exports. As long as you're exporting, you are creating employment back home. How, as a youth, what can I say? How easy is this for the youth?
Well, I think she has nailed it to say, because exporting means we are expanding on the market base. Besides our own local market, which means we are also expanding on our market base. And there are also jobs that are created during the exportation process, the clearance, the transportation, the merchandising in that particular country. There's a lot, market analysis, market intelligence. So I think if the youth are involved in exports, really it will then improve on our offering of the jobs, and it will actually ease on the rate of unemployment. I think that's my assessment, because if I was focusing on the local market and producing 10 tons for the local market, which means the number of people that I need for 10 tons are actually less than the number that I will need for 80, 100 tons, which I will be then exporting to various other countries. So yes, it's really true that the youth, if the youth are involved in export, then that can also create, in my case, I think, because we have export markets as part of our business, we now have approximately 50 employees that are directly linked to our business, But when we were just focusing on the local market, we were around 10, 15 of us, and that was enough. So I think there is a lot of potential in terms of job creation that is brought about through, exportation, because it means the market base has increased, more work, more, there's a lot, So yeah, I think the youth needs to be involved in export market to really ease the rate of unemployment in the country.
Talk us through, Leslie, your experience as a youth and as you were trying to penetrate in the export market. What are some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you manage to overcome them?
Well, from my end, I think I was one of the most fortunate people, because I really got to know about Zimtrade earlier, So
how early is early?
My business is 3 years old,
Okay.
and I knew about Zimtrade in our first year of operation. So it then changed the structure of our business.
If I can just hold you there.
Okay.
So how did you get to know about Zimtrade? Because there are some organizations, youth-led organizations, that are maybe only hearing about Zimtrade today.
No,
What is
okay.
it? Were you Googling about them? Were you reading? How did you get to know about Zimtrade?
Interesting question. This is what then happened. I attended it was Zimbabwe International Trade Fair in Bulawayo. That was in 2018. So when I was going around, I saw this, a nice, well done cubicle. I went in there and I shared with them my vision, because by then I had registered the company, but I had no product that was assigned to me. So I still remember I talked to one of their export promotion officers, and then I shared with him my vision of being a business personnel, of owning a business, and and then he really took his time to assist me, to say, no, this can be done as soon as we have the product. So in another way, I mean, he shared the same vision that I had. He had the faith in me to really say, no, I think this young man is structured. I think his business plan is something that we can work with. And then we exchanged contacts, and then he invited me to say, no, when we are back in Harare, please visit our offices. This is where we are resident and everything. I can tell you that August, I was then part of the delegation that went to Zambia to go and showcase. By then, I had formulated a product, but I had a very, very, very thin range. And then when I went to Zambia, people were so excited about my product. So it then changed our business setup from being a normal transitional business to be a born global business. So I can say my exposure to Zimtrade was through the trade fair.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, when I then made follow-ups, I then realized these guys are present on social media. They're also present on, when you go and on their website, they're also active. You can actually get more information about. But one thing that I enjoyed, I think as I speak, Zimtrade is one of my favorite institutions. Why? Because these guys, they go an extra mile to try and assist you.
I hope it's not because you're
No.
a judge.
Remember, I was an ambitious person before I became a judge.
Yes.
So to me, judging is now like paying back to say, no, thank you guys. These are the things that these guys told me, and it worked for me. So when I'm judging on those guys, I'm also relating my experience with Zimtrade. So yeah, I can assure you they can take their time, their involvement. I think from our off-air discussion, I think that's why you see there is client. It's a business that is market-oriented in its nature. So I'm urging all the youth that are keen in terms of export, that are keen in terms of development, in terms of capacity building, in terms of, helping, in terms of developing their business. I think that's the door to knock.
Interrupt you there.
Yes.
Before I asked you how you got to know about Zimtrade, you were about to tell us some of the challenges that you experienced as a youth in business.
Well, operating in Zimbabwe on its own is a very big challenge. But it's not a challenge that cannot be worked around. It's a challenge that is manageable. I think one thing that I always tell people, I know we are in a polarized environment, but the youth are now spending too much time on politicizing on issues rather than focusing on their future, rather than focusing on the future of the economy, rather than focusing on the transformational journey that is required to really change the status quo from where we are now to where we need to be in the future. So there are issues. I was one person who really suffered a lot in terms of inflationary losses. I also had a very serious challenge from capacity building, especially when it comes to banks. Because as a youth you don't have the collateral that these guys require for them to capacitate your business. That was one of the biggest challenges. Competition, yes, it's a challenge, but we always find a way around it.
And it's a part of business.
It's part of business. So it's a challenge, yes, but as a business person you always see how to maneuver around it.
Hold that thought,
okay.
Leslie.
All right.
We are taking a short break. In case you're just joining us, you are tuned in to Business First here on Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. My name is Lynette Manzini, and we continue with our program where we are trying to find out why it's important for the youth to target exports. Before we went on to the break, Leslie, you were talking about the challenges. You had touched the issue of inflation being one of the challenges, and you were moving on to capacity building. I think you wanted to touch on the issue of banks before I interrupted you.
All right, thank you so much, Lynette. Like I said, I think one of the biggest problems that I've seen is the issue of financing, especially good projects. The catch is the banks need collateral. The youth doesn't have any property assigned to him. And the youth is running a viable business that can actually, when unlocked, the potential can actually be like the flagship of the country. So to me, I think it's a problem that really needs the government to intervene. On other platforms, I suggested to people that, Zimtrade, they are a facilitation board. But if they are given now the mandate to then point banks to say, I think we have done enough, probably through the eagle's nest, can you then help? I think it can go a long way to ease, because these guys, they are putting a lot of effort in terms of market linkages. They are putting a lot of effort to make the buyer and the seller meet. They're putting a lot of effort in various aspects, the legal aspects and everything. But where then the catch is, or probably where the problem is whoever is involved in the business cannot go forward because he doesn't have the money to bring the business where it has to be for it to be export ready. So I think if that issue is addressed from a policy perspective, from a strategy perspective, I think it will go a long way to really cover the imbalance that is there, the trade deficit that is there between our imports and our exports. So that thing has to be taken, seriously, especially from people who develop policies, from strategists, from the government itself. They really need to come handy in terms of assisting the young people so that they can have the resources. If the Ministry of Small and Medium is responsible for that, if the Ministry of Finance is responsible for that, they really need to go and finance to capacitate the young people so that their projects can be viable and export ready.
The Glaytime CEO has become an advocate for the youth already on this program. This is an issue that is really close to your heart. If I can bring you into tender, Leslie talks about finances. I mean, they say money makes the world go round. You've got these youths. You mentioned earlier on that, youths are tech savvy. They've got these brilliant ideas. But, without the required finances, this can only be a dream. How do you come in?
We try our best to assist in terms of providing partnerships with, let's say, with banks or NGOs or other institutions that have readily available finance to be able to inject into these various projects. I can't really mention by name, but we also have some synergies that we're even creating for the Eagle's Nest participants at the moment to try and get them some type of financial assistance for their projects. You find the youth has an idea, the technical know-how, they have it all, but they don't have the infrastructure or the finances to support their dream. So we're hoping through this program as well to create awareness and also some other programs and financial resources that are available even through our own government institutions as well, that we can be able to get some funds from there and help our youth enterprises to come up.
Perfect. As you were talking, I was just thinking of one fund where youths failed to pay back, and I'm just thinking, I hope, this is one of the issues you talk about in your capacity building, why it's important to pay back these loans. If I can rope you in, Alex, what are the opportunities available for the youths? There are youths watching this program today, and we want to hear from you as the export promotion officer. What are the opportunities that are there for the youth?
Thank you. There are various opportunities that are there, but let's go through the trade statistics in terms of what is the current opportunity at the moment in Africa. Let me zero in Africa because it's nearer first to start nearer to home for competitiveness purposes. If I look sector by sector in terms of the opportunities, the easiest one, which is the biggest industry at the moment in Africa, is your cereal products, which includes your maize, which includes your wheat, which includes your sorghum, etc. That business at the moment is about USD 22 billion. That is the opportunity that is there in Africa if we are going to trade in that business that the youth can tap in. The other segment also related to that same sector, you also got your cotton industry. It's also very big, it's about 1.4 billion USD. You also got your horticulture industry where you do your peas, where you can also do your sweet potatoes, where you can also do your onions and everything else. That business again, which is also an easier one to do, it's also almost about 1.4 billion USD dollars in Africa, which you can trade. So you can just go and farm, go do your sweet potatoes. Within some few months they're out, and then you can start trading. But you also look at the other industry, which is also big, which is your furniture industry. It's a furniture industry. It's about 4.8 billion dollars, 4.8 billion USD dollars. Apparel, your clothing, it's another big one at about 3.2 billion dollars. But for you to access those industries, remember you are also competing with other countries. We are now talking about countries to country trade. You need also, as a business, you need to register for trade agreement, like I said in our first segment. Those helps you, or they enable you to trade and face competition at the same footing. Because if you are not registered in other countries or other companies within your same sector are registered, your product will be uncompetitive from the duty that we then able to pay. But other competitors that are competing with other countries, if they are registered, they will sell their product duty-free if the products are classified as non-sensitive, and they are also quota-free. Because there are some products that go through a quota system where they say, for instance, sugar, you are given a quota as a country to say, for instance, Kenya wants sugar 4 billion. They then say from Zimbabwe, we're going to take at most 1 billion within this time frame. So once you exhaust your quota, you then wait for the next period because you can't go above that. So these agreements, when they come into full operational, those quota systems will be removed. Then be able now to trade without those hindrances. But let me emphasize, in any sector that you are in, you need to understand the sector requirements for you to export. So for us to give you a detailed response to those issues, can you contact any Zimtrade offices so that we understand what you want to do, what is your export plan, which market that you want to focus on. Then we give you opportunities which are specific to what you are looking for, and also for you to understand the regulatory environment so that you are able to trade in a better manner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If I can bring you in, Tatenda, talk us through the importance of value addition.
Thank you for that, Lynette. Maybe just to follow the same wavelength that my friend Alex was on here. Value addition is a very important aspect. I think even Leslie would understand that his business is value addition. It is an opportunity to provide a product or to supply a product value added than when it is just raw. There are various products that you can value add, some of which we don't even know the multi-purposes that we can actually use it for. Maybe I can just give an example. One of the products that are required out there in the export market is like your avocado. Your avocado, you can make use of the full product actually. You can eat it, you can use it for health, pharmaceuticals as well, for your hair. The purposes are unlimited. So value addition is a very important process that we all need to look into in terms of our production as well. We need not just stop at just producing a product, farming the product alone. We also need to go the extra length and look into what other products we can make out of that core product.
Okay, so it's not just the youths who are producing the product and selling it like that you are looking at as Zimtrade. You're saying one youth can go and buy a produced product and value add it and then export.
So with value added products, we're guaranteed better prices. And also the issue of unemployment that was discussed earlier. Imagine the job creation along the way as well, because you're not just supplying it as a raw product, you also have to process it, whether you're going to dry it, you're going to manufacture into another product. That's already employment that you've created there. So you can gain better prices out there, and we can also retain more of our foreign currency than exporting it as a raw product and having it processed in another country. So the margins are better, especially for us, and in the long run, it's better to maintain and it's more sustainable.
Okay, Leslie, you are I love saying this, you are the CEO of Glide Times, and you are also a judge for Eagle's Nest. What are you looking for? Maybe before I ask you what you're looking for, tell me, you went through this process of going through the applications. You know, there were 250 applications until you came to 100. Walk us through that.
Well, thank you. I think there are key deliverables when it comes to export readiness. There are determinants to export readiness, and sure, these are things that we are looking for. There are issues to do with capacity. There are issues to do with quality. There are issues to do with pricing. There are issues to do with branding. There are issues to do with the strategic focus of the business. If I can probably go back a bit, I've seen the problem that we have probably as the youth in this country is to come up with what we call Me Too products. Me Too products is like Alex starts rearing broilers, I get into broiler, you get into, and everyone else, the whole community is doing the same thing. And there is no innovation in doing that. What it then does, it gives market saturation. It then kills the industry and lowers the prices down. So we are also looking into the innovative, the ingenuity of the concept. You know, how disruptive is it? How transformational is it from the norm? You know, are you giving the space a new challenge? Are you giving the market a new offering? Are you giving customers their expectations? Because customer preferences are dynamic. This year, something is trending. The following year, another thing is trending. So are you following those trends? And are you responding to those trends? So these are some of the things that we look at during the Eagle's Nest process, because these are the key deliverables. And we also check on, you know, the appreciation of the business owner on the market dynamics. Do you really understand the market structure? Do you really understand what is required for you to get into that particular market? Do you have an appreciation of how to segment the market, how to probably, you know, position your product? So these are some of the things that we'll be looking at to say, you know what, for you to be a successful business person, what is the problem that you're solving? Is it a social impact problem? Is it a health-related problem? Is it
So it's not just about profits?
It's not all about profit, you know. It's all about transformation. What is the impact of the project? How sustainable it is? What is the kind of impact is it bringing across the value chain? How much people are you sending? Are you helping for them to get basic education, food security, you know, things like that? So these are some of the things that we look into, you know, during our selection process. It's not about margins, it's not about profitability. There's a whole lot of issues that we look about when you go through those processes.
What are some of the, give us some, maybe a few examples of some of the companies that, youth-led companies that are applied for this program?
I would relate with people from beauty and care industry. I would relate from people from agro-processing industry. There were people from the service sector, engineering was there. There were people also from technology. There's fintech was also part of it. Furniture industry was also part of it. Apparel industry, fashion, and arts and culture. I think it was really a broad spectrum.
Okay, to conclude the program, Alex, I want you to give the youths listening in 30 seconds your words of advice. Youths coming into export, into trade in 30 seconds. I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
No, thank you very much. I think what need to be done is they need to be structured. They need to apply for some capacity building programs, which they can also conduct Zimtrade for assistance for that, so that once they become export ready, we can then assist them now to expose them to the whole world. You can't go and export when you're not export ready. You need to be competitive, you need to be knowledgeable. So those are things that we can then work with them. So first of them, let them be organized, register for themselves, then we can then work on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tatenda, your final words in 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I think as the youth out there, we need to be informed, educated. We need to know what is out there. Probably we need to do a bit more research. The opportunities are available, the gaps are there. I mean, especially now coming out of this pandemic, the opportunities have been realized, some of them, but there's still many more that can be taken advantage of. Because remember, us as the youth, we are the future of tomorrow.
Leslie, your final words?
Well, I'm going to
In 30 seconds.
have my final words in a multisectoral way. The first thing is the government needs to come on board to really come and assist the young people. Taking, for example, what is happening in Rwanda and Mauritius. Also, the young people should stop politicizing about everything. I think this is our time to take precedence and really move the economy forward. The banks need to look at the business as a going concern. Even if somebody doesn't have the collateral that they need, but if the business is a going concern and there is future in that business, they have to look at from that end. Also, the youth, if they borrow, they need to return the money to the banks on time so that it can build the equity that we need as young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to the program. Thank you very much for your final words. So there you have it, viewers. We have come to the end of today's program. This was Business First, brought to you by Zimtrade, where we were talking about the Eagle's Nest. We're talking about youth and why they should be involved in export. So until next time, goodbye.